Hi, welcome to Matt Talk, a video podcast for the friends and family of Coming First United Methodist Church. From me, Pastor Matt. Thank you for joining us today for this Matt Talk. And a few weeks ago, we were at the North Georgia Annual Conference over in Athens, Georgia at the Classic Center. And our lay delegates to annual conference this year was Tony Jones, our chair of the leadership board, and Chuck Pugh, our vice chair of the leadership board. And I've asked Tony and Chuck to join me today and to share their report from annual conference with you and let you know what happened there and how things were. And this was the first time for both of these gentlemen, so we're excited to hear from them. So Tony and Chuck, welcome to Matt Talk.
Hey, thanks you.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Glad you're here. So your very first time to annual conference, what was your first impressions? And
Chuck, I'll let you start, buddy.
Well, I thought it was great. There was great preaching,
Yes.
wonderful worship experiences, and yet we got the business done that needed to be done. A chance to connect with friends that I don't see real often. A chance to meet new friends and learn about what ministries other congregations are doing, and so it was all good.
yeah. And we found out that everybody in the world knows Chuck Pugh.
Everybody knows Chuck. I mean, everywhere we turned, even in the elevator.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
he's got
somebody
friends
knew Chuck.
everywhere. I
They
know.
were screaming for him and everything outside.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
We couldn't even walk down the hallway
So-
without somebody screaming for Chuck.
I got to walk next to a famous man for that weekend. Loved it.
Exactly.
And for me to piggyback off Chuck it was good. It was to meet new people, and then the preaching and hearing from Bishop Deese. It was a great experience. And then learning to know each other a little bit better as well. You know, Chuck and I worked together a little bit, being on the leadership board, and of course having conversations with you, and but getting to know Pastor G a little bit more, and Debbie and Don and Jerry, and eating together and just fellowshipping together. That was a great experience for me as well. To not only get to know new faces and new names, and find out how famous Chuck is, but on top of that, just growing amongst each other. I thought that was very important, and that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole conference when it came to us getting together and becoming more of what I like to call a family.
Yeah.
So,
And Debbie Poss and Don Slater and Jerry Harris were there as district at-large delegates. And one of the things that happens at annual conferences is we have to have the same number of lay and clergy delegates. So since there are retired ministers in the conference and ministers in extension ministries that don't have a lay person, to equal that out, we have at-large delegates from the district. So Jerry and Don and Debbie were asked to fill those roles. So they were there with us as well, and Pastor Gia also. So, you got to see the church from a different perspective, the larger church, that it's larger than just this congregation at Coming First United Methodist Church. And what was your thoughts or takeaways from that larger church experience for you?
Just appreciating. I mean, there were like 1,800 delegates there,
yes.
representing clergy and laity from really from a large part of the state. There were discussions about the study of the merging of the North and South Georgia conferences, report on that. There was recognition of retired clergy, an acknowledgement of those who had died during the last year. And although we were notified on Wednesday that former Pastor John Cromarty had died, so he was not officially recognized in that memorial service, but the senior pastor at First Methodist in Gainesville was awarded something, and in his remarks he noted that a lot of his thoughts during that week had been taken up thinking about the memorial service that he was going to be leading for John on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, and John Cromarty will be memorialized next year at the memorial service. Yes. Yeah.
And it was good to see Jim Hensley, one of our own, recognized as a new licensed local pastor.
Yes. Exciting.
good to see a neighbor, Pastor Justin Coombs, being ordained as a full elder,
Yes.
and acknowledged that he would be moving to a new assignment where his duties would be split between being an associate at Gainesville First and starting a new congregation in Dahlonega,
Yeah.
which he'd already been doing on a volunteer basis,
Yeah.
even when he was at Bethelview.
Right. And Justin is at Bethelview right now for one more Sunday.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, and then on top of everything that Chuck said, which were all wonderful, just all the youth that were present. I think it said there was 70 youth delegates that were there at the conference as well that were representing the Methodist Church. And on top of that, I really appreciated the 100-year celebration of Camp Glisson. And I liked how what was very powerful for me was, the part where they said, okay, stand up if you were a counselor, stand up if you attended the camp in general, stand up if you had some sort of part in it. And it was unbelievable how many people in the United Methodist Church that was at that conference had some part in Camp Glisson.
Yeah.
And it was very powerful to know that that camp is doing a lot of great things. And of course, they had a fundraiser for them as well when it came to for donations that got passed by. But it was a powerful experience when it came to that as well.
Yeah, I think they raised about $25,000
Is that
to
what
go
it was?
towards
Wow.
camper sponsorships and so forth.
Wow.
And it was
good.
interesting because my kids went to Glisson a long time ago. And this year, my grandson is going to Camp Glisson
That is
twice. And Russell Davis spoke during the laity luncheon,
Yes.
had a very powerful sermon. And Lynn's brother was really good friends with Russell's wife growing up, so
Wow.
got a connection with him.
Some more
Yeah,
of those Chuck Pugh connections there.
Another one, one of a million. But that was very powerful for me too. Both Chuck and I, once he got done, preaching at that lunch, we both looked at each other, and Chuck actually went and found him and was like, "Man, can you give us your presentation?" And Chuck got it, and he sent it to us and shared it with me. It was very powerful. It was a good way to start the conference with a great lunch and an even better sermon.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Super. I'm always impressed with the youth delegates who are there. That's something that North Georgia does. Not every conference has that. And it's amazing to me that the youth are all. I've never been to a North Georgia annual conference that the youth didn't have some question or went to the mic to make some point, and they're very engaged and very participatory in the life of the annual conference there. And that's exciting. Yes.
Yes, it is.
So we voted on some constitutional amendments, and we talked about those a few weeks ago on Matt Talk that they were coming up. We didn't find out what the results were because our results will be thrown into the results from all the annual conferences, and then we'll find out what the final vote is later in the year when all those annual conferences have completed and the tallies are in. So what else did you find interesting that we accomplished in our time together at annual conference?
Well, there was, like a lot of conferences, you had like an exhibit hall kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was smaller in scope, but
Yes.
you had tables with representatives from Lake Junaluska and the retreat center just over the line in North Carolina, and Methodist men, Methodist women, Wesley Woods, and those a number of different ministry areas. Georgia Interfaith Power and Light was there, that we've been working with for the last couple of years, and they were excited to share the news that Dunwoody First United Methodist had just implemented a new solar solution with SunPath Solar that we've been in conversation with, putting in over 300 solar panels on their campus.
Yes.
Wow.
And they'll generate about 20% of their energy on campus and save about $15,000 a year by doing that. So that was kind of a fun thing to share.
Yeah. Super.
And I think, recently, this from from what I got from the conference, they're talking about, churches that unfortunately, have had to shut the doors. But what I also liked as well is there was some talk about that there's some new churches that are getting started that are opening doors when it comes to the Methodist Church. And I thought that was very exciting as well when it came to that, to know that, there has been some tough times when it comes to, a few of those churches in the North and the South districts. But at the same time, both in the North and the South districts, there's churches that are getting established and opening doors to the people. So I thought that was exciting and kind of turning the table a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, anything else that you all found interesting you'd like to share?
It was just good to kind of, like I said at the beginning, kind of spend time with y'all and realize how famous Chuck is. And I like, we got to, we carpooled to Athens and back. And when you work with somebody on leadership, you get to know a lot of the people on leadership. But it was just good because Chuck and I worked together so much, to get to know him more and know a lot more about him. And I like him even more than I did before. So
that's good.
So
I thought the music was great.
Yeah.
Clark Atlanta University choir was there. There were folks leading the music from the Camp Glisson.
That was good.
Leadership people, yeah.
A member of UGA was there. He did a really good job playing. It was
playing the fight song.
Yeah, playing the fight song. Go Dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, music was wonderful. Clark Atlanta, and then that one young lady who sang, can't recall her name. She could let it go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's always great music, great worship at annual conferences. Something. Well, we sure appreciate the two of you for being our delegates to annual conference and representing us and voting on our behalf of coming First United Methodist Church. And thank you for that. There is a video on the North Georgia website that recaps some of this conference, and you can find that full video as well as a written report about the annual conference on the North Georgia website as well. That link there is on your screen, so write that down and go check it out and read more about things that were accomplished at this year's North Georgia Annual Conference, and know that we were well represented with Chuck and Tony, but also with Debbie and Don and Jerry as well. And we are so excited. What a wonderful ministry we're a part of, the United Methodist Church, and especially the United Methodist Church here in North Georgia. Well, thank you so much for joining us for today's Matt Talk, and I look forward to seeing you Sunday when we do the work of worship together. Until then, I pray that the peace and joy of Christ always be with you.